Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I'm kind of nudging myself to do this, but I have a couple pieces of feedback.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is something I think you were right about, and the second one is something I think you might not be right about.
Okay, great. I'm excited.
So, and I can't remember which session was what, but there was, I think, the first one ever where I had said that something about my emotional response is just, turned up, and that it was probably part of emotional dysregulation from ADHD or something like that. Mm-hmm. And you either said to me or in the notes from that session, something kind of doubting that. And I do think that was my big emotions kid part. And, but I just never could get through all of the work that I've done on myself and all the therapy and stuff. It just always felt like this is just how it is and it's not going to change. So you should just kind of accept it.
Right. Right.
But I do think that dealing with that part and working with it and all of the check-ins that I do with it and stuff are turning the volume down on that a little bit. So
awesome.
Yeah. And then the second part, I can't remember exactly which session, but and this was about the notes on the podcast stuff.
Yes.
And there was one where you said something I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was I don't think a 5-year-old needs a boyfriend or something.
Yeah, I remember writing that. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little misguided.
I think you're right.
Okay. And just and some of my parts got pissed about it.
Yes. Yes. And you didn't say that. You didn't say that.
No,
that's not what you were saying.
I don't think that's what you were saying. I was saying, I think it could be a little bit overly assumptive to think, or presumptuous maybe is the word, to think that if feelings are tied to a child part, that they have to revolve around child things, or that a child part couldn't have feelings about current day life or desires that relate to current day life.
Yeah. Or that children can't also be sexual animals, I mean,
that part
is have those feelings too.
that part is a stretch for me, but like the desire for a romantic partner is so like tied up in attachment, attachment modes and stuff like that. But to me, it's like, I guess, if on that session, I was like, I'm horny or something like that, then I would feel a little more strange about tying it to a 5-year-old part. But I was just offering that up as food for thought. Like, I think a 5-year-old exiled part could be like, I want a partner.
Yes, I think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that part was not a protective part, but just like a petulant child who wants what they want.
Yeah.
So I'm just offering that as like,
I really appreciate you offering
my
that.
response. And I, like overall umbrella, I do not have a problem with the note, but there was like some parts that were like activated by it. And I think, like I did get to discover like a protective part based on the note. So it's still overall good, but
great.
I noticed one that is just like, if someone doesn't understand you, you should withdraw from them. Like there was this little urge that was like, we shouldn't do these calls anymore. And we should not, we should just stop this. And I had to talk with myself about it. And when I say self, I don't always mean self,
right.
but I had a chat with that and was like, no, that's too strong of a response. And I truly trust that you are coming from a good place and that, everybody has to make mistaken assumptions sometimes, myself included, on a daily basis, if not more often than that. But it was interesting. It was an interesting experience, like reading that note and being like, ooh, and then just having kind of like fleshing out my feelings around it.
I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I know that's hard to give feedback when it's not all positive, especially. So, and I really value it. And thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. I remember when I wrote it, I was like, this isn't, it's not quite exactly how or what I want to say, but I had so much on my mind about how it had really, in my conversations with Molly, is when I was reminiscing and kept feeling like that's where we were going, and I didn't know how to talk about that with her. But
Molly is a client, or was that where you were?
Yeah, she's kind of in the earlier days. And I feel like that's where our calls were going, or kind of where what she was getting to. And then I've had another client that is a therapist in relationships and IFS, and she and I have also had some disagreements and difficulty around that topic. So,
okay,
yeah, it really, again, I appreciate your feedback, and I apologize for stirring up parts. Sometimes I do feel like I'm just shooting myself in the foot making any notes, because how people can interpret them. But thank you.
Thanks for giving the space for that, and I hope that that it is an overall positive for you to receive. Okay.
Yeah. One more thing is, there are parts, forget about boyfriends, but like when parts want something out in the world, it's hard to even approach that subject at all. Like, well, do I just give this part the thing that it wants internally, or do I need to go get this thing in the world? And which of those will help it, and which might make it worse? So,
I think I think it could be both. I don't think there always has to be one way. I would say, and I mean, I'm no expert, obviously, but somewhere in that session, you said something that I interpreted to mean basically like, it's kind of my job, as the self to give the love to the part that it wants, which I'm like, yeah, right on. But I don't know that that's going to make the part not want something out in the world,
Right.
Like,
absolutely.
because we live in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, the parts, there are drives that are kind of built into us, and they're probably not going to go away.
Right.
But they can, I think, like, be brought from a rolling boil to a simmer or something to that degree.
Or can be, we can feel them maybe in more like a pure way where it's like, oh, this is my drive to do this thing, rather than kind of a tangled collection of parts that we're having trouble understanding the direct message, or we're bringing, part A into an activity that is kind of part B involvement. I'm thinking it's just about, we're going back to relationships and all the craziness that goes on in us, in people often when they're seeking attachment with others and have so many other drives and things that they're trying to satisfy that are kind of hidden from them, hidden from their partners. And I know I'm just rambling, but
that's okay. Rambling sometimes, bounces off different things in my brain. What I was starting to think when you started to say that, like another direction that my mind went was that working with the part that wants something out in the external world, I feel like good work in that direction can make the desire, like the thing that the wanting, something that you smile at instead of something that like makes, that is a problem. It's like,
right.
Oh, nice,
Yeah. Yeah, again, kind of like that's kind of what I was getting at. Like appreciating I can see this thing. It's kind of a pure thing. It's got a direction, and that's normal and doesn't make me crazy.
Yeah.
And I can kind of read it and understand it.
Yeah, because I think there's the part that I think that there is a truly, a real kind of push to the side is how I often think of Exile's part that desires this kind of connection that is not familial, but you know what I mean? Like deep enough. It's hard to put into words, but oh God, I lost my whole train there. The train got derailed completely. And then there's another part that makes that a problem. And part of it is like comparing to the rest of the world and, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, that desire is a problem, or the fact that we don't have that is a problem, which I think is, not the same part, I guess.
Yeah. Or making meaning out of it. Other people have this. I don't.
There's something wrong with me.
There's something wrong with me. Yeah. Or
yeah. Okay.
Cool. I like talking about parts.
Same.
Okay. Want to do some IFS?
Yeah.
Great. Would you like to start with a minute of meditation?
Yes.
Okay. I'll set a timer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Any parts you'd like to get to know better, change your relationship with?
Yes. I feel like I always have like several that I'm trying to choose from. I think I'm going to put to the back burner the one that I was speaking about a moment ago. That's like, if I'm misunderstood, I withdraw. I don't know how to talk about this part, or how to like put it in this type of language, but I recently, so this had come up in another session that we had, and it felt like not distantly related, but there was some content that came up in one of our sessions about kind of quietly going along with physical encounters, let's say, that were not enjoyable. And recently it got kind of pinged on. And this was not a sexual encounter at all. It was a massage that I got that was terrible. And there was part of me that really wanted to say, and it wasn't creepy. There was nothing like, inappropriate in that direction about it. But part of me wanted to say, I would like to stop this service now. I'm not enjoying this.
Yes.
Because to like just lay there and endure something that's really unenjoyable and just think like, oh God, how much longer is this going to be happening?
Yep.
Is really not something I want to spend my time doing. But I couldn't do that because there's another part that's like, it's not nice. It will hurt people's feelings. You'll be unpleasant. You'll be the person that is the person who does this. Like kind of a bigger version of sending back food that you don't like. But there was also like a connection to, I think that the reason why I was so like mad about it afterwards was because I was being touched in a way that I didn't want to be touched. And I felt like obligated to endure it. Because I had at the outset, opted in. And it reminded me of time, not those kinds of services, but like, intimate encounters where I had done the same, where it's like, well, you opted in, so just endure this.
You're along for the ride
until it's over. So just sit there and wait until it's over. So yeah, I don't know which aspect of that to zero in on, whether it's the part that's like, tell this person to stop touching you, or the part that says, no, don't do that, or what. But I could tell that it was connected to something bigger and different than the experience that I was having. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Okay. I usually try to aim for kind of the outermost part first, and that would be the one that you did end up expressing is the one saying don't express anything.
Yeah.
That's not nice. Just seeing that as kind of the outer layer, or the one that kind of won in that battle of parts. So that's how I might make that decision, but it's up to you, whichever feels
I'm
right.
Good with that.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay. See if you can tune into that one. See if you can notice where it is located in your body.
I always have trouble with this locating in the body thing. But my eyebrows are kind of furrowed at the moment. I don't know. I don't feel like the let's keep quiet part lives there, but
Okay. You can listen out for messages it's giving you. You can listen out for colors, vibrations, tensions, just any way to.
Yeah, I mostly get things with auditorily, like messages, and the message is just like, it's not that bad, it's a lot about like imagining how it would come across to the other people involved if you were to do what the other part is saying to do. And just like it's very concerned about other people's feelings, and it's very concerned about not being rude and not seeming like an unpleasant person.
Right.
So it's like, this is not that bad. Just it'll be over when it's over. We won't come here again, kind of thing. But you can't do that. You can't deny. You cannot. You can't opt out now. It's just like you signed up for this, so here we are. Just keep quiet.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling towards it?
I think I toggle between feeling like I am it and feeling kind of like testy towards it.
Okay.
So obviously I need to ask that testiness.
You'll need to ask the testiness.
That's the other part. It's like, no, we don't have to do this. Okay. So
let it know we'd like to get to it also.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that one, I'm like, yo, I get it. It's really unpleasant. Okay, let me get. I'm trying to get past like pity. Because that's not exactly compassion. It's some like twisted flavor of it.
Pity for the part.
Yeah. Like kind of, there's another part that thinks that part's pathetic.
Yes. Well, you also mentioned that you toggled between, that part and feeling like you are this other part that says it's not nice. So
yeah.
So if you're experiencing that blendedness, it might be hard to make requests of parts and.
Okay. I feel like I'm in the room where this terrible service took place, and I'm like standing in the middle now. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the more assertive part that very rarely gets its way outwardly.
Right.
To leave.
It's interesting.
It's very, verbal, or it's very opinionated and within, but it doesn't get to like actually say anything out loud a lot of the time. So, okay. I think I can be there with the keeping quiet part.
Okay. And does it still feel blended, or how are you feeling towards the keeping quiet part?
No, I feel like I'm standing next to the place. It's still laying there on the table, and I can stand next to the table.
Okay. How are you feeling towards it?
A little bit protective right now. I'm going to need to remove the image of the other people in the room there too. Like the ones that were actually people that were in the room, not parts of me.
Yeah. You might also invite, you might invite the part to not that room.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, I can imagine that would, I might trigger it in other ways. So
Yeah.
You could ask it where I'd like to meet you.
Okay. I'm seeing this part as me at the age I was, a week ago when this happened, but I don't think that's quite accurate. But I don't know how else I'm not a very visualizing person, so I'm just going to let the visuals fall away.
You mentioned feeling protective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm good on that. It was just when I see the room, I felt protective.
Right.
Because, there's a part of me that knows the reason why this part wants to be quiet is because of some kind of hurt, Okay. I'm feeling neutral. I can't see the part as like a being in front of me, but I know that I'm with it.
Okay.
My cat is also going loco next to me, so hopefully she won't make too much noise.
Yeah. Is there any curiosity in that neutrality?
There is. There's some like apprehension too, though. Like, what kind of can of worms you about to open up now? And I know I'm not quite, I've got more folks to ask to, come back later. I'm going to do that for a moment. Okay. For the moment, I'm clear.
Great.
Of all the other things.
Okay. You can just ask this part to speak with you. Ask it what it wants you to know.
The first things that come is like everyone does this pretty much, especially, being a female in the world today. It seems for this part, like there's a binary. You're either nice or you're kind of a bitch, and we want to be nice, obviously.
Yeah. So it's kind of justifying its position. It's saying everybody does this and the only alternative is being a bitch. Yeah. Okay.
I'm already feeling some emotion. It's like there's a very strong resistance to the being a bitch option, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in our getting to know this part, we don't need to side with one or the other. It has a binary view, but
yes,
that doesn't mean that that's accurate. And so
agreed.
You can let it know that you
wants me to know.
Yeah. So you can let it know that you get that you get that in its world. This feels like the only decisions, the only options.
Yeah, like being perceived as being nice is like utmost importance. It's basically like it's only okay, it's only like okay to assert yourself if something definitively bad and wrong is happening. Not just if you are uncomfortable or don't want something.
Right. How are you feeling towards the part as you hear that from him?
Very understanding, but also like kind of sad for the part.
Yeah. You can just share that with it. That sadness. Sounds like a compassionate sadness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like on my part, as far as from my end of the conversation, it's like, I know the world taught you this.
Mm. Is there more that it wants to show you or that you would like to learn about what would be, what its fear is? You know, if you were assertive when you were only uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the outcome? What's it afraid would happen?
It is afraid that, people would think I was an unpleasant person and they would all go away.
Yeah.
Or, in lesser instances, if it's people that I wouldn't mind having go away, they will think I am a bitch.
Right.
Yeah. People will just think that I'm an unpleasant person and not want to be around me.
Yep. Okay. You just show it some appreciation for that, for its intention. How's it going? Is there more that you want to ask it about its role, or that it wants to share about that?
It's pointing out that there are some parts that have a lot of bitchy thoughts.
Parts that have a lot of... Oh, did you say bitchy thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's gotta work to keep those down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always have this like a gray area where I'm never clear as to whether it's okay for me to not negotiate, but like show a different perspective to the part while I'm speaking to it.
Yes.
Like, is it okay to say?
But XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to have boundaries about your physical body and if, like stuff like that.
Yeah. I think especially earlier in the conversation, you want to limit that. and that's just a persuasion strategy if nothing else. It's like, you gotta first seek to understand before you can be understood. Mm-hmm. And by letting it air out its grievances, by really understanding it, by witnessing it, then whatever you do want to show it, it will feel
more receptive.
Yeah. And the part feels like, okay, you understand me enough that I should bother listening to anything you have to say, because it's been fighting these other parts that are probably, saying similar things all the time. So,
yeah.
So, yeah. And then the only other thing I want to say about that is, if you are in self energy, if you are feeling curious and compassionate, then whatever you say is not going to be, you kind of can do no wrong from that place.
Okay. Yeah, because it comes from not a argumentative place, just like a sort of I don't want to use the word teacher. It's something, like I don't know exactly what to say. I can't find a right word. But
manager?
Yeah. No. I told them to leave for a second.
Okay.
No, not manager, just more like, it's a compassionate thing, at least in this moment. I'm not going to claim that it always is, but yeah. Or at least a nurturing type thing. Okay. Where was I?
Well, I can't remember. The part it said, just talking about people would find you unpleasant. Then you said there was a lot of bitchy thoughts.
But there's, there are some other characters in there who maybe are overly assertive. As I said, they don't usually get to say things out loud. But maybe that's because this part is driving more of the time than they are.
Yeah. And you could ask it how it likes that job.
It's funny. At first, I kind of saw this part in like sort of a weak way, but I don't see that much anymore. I feel like it's kind of exasperated and yeah, it's assertive in its own weird way.
Right. And has it received any appreciation from you? Again, just for its intention.
Yeah. Just now.
It's great.
Okay. We're having a laugh, so that's good.
That is good. And what would it rather be doing with its energy if it didn't have to work so hard in this role?
It's funny. Like I always, when the answers come like as you're still asking the question, and they're often just like funny little quips. And immediately when you said that, it was like getting a better massage. But what would it like to be doing?
Yeah. If it didn't have to keep down these other assertive voices. And if it didn't have to worry about everyone leaving because,
The sense I get is just like relaxing in general, that it would rather, not have to argue with anyone.
Internally.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, it clearly doesn't want to argue externally either.
Right.
But yeah, as far as like, constantly being like, no, you can't do that, or not that it's constant, but it's not so often, I guess. It was like, maybe it's pretty often. But not like this particular kind of scenario where it's like, do you speak up in this exact moment or do you not, kind of thing. But
right.
Yeah, it is managing me in various ways, trying to come across nice, like at all costs.
And how old does it think that you are?
I always get like kind of I feel like my parts are all hip to that game and they're like, we know how old you are, but here's how you act. And what I get from that. The first number that came was 17. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Do you want to stay with that a moment?
Yeah. All of a sudden, it ain't funny anymore, right?
Right. You okay with it showing you this?
Yeah, I'm okay. But it's weird because what I'm being shown is like a time when I didn't speak up. That does not seem like a win.
Right.
So I don't know why this part would show me that.
You could ask it. Usually they're showing you when they decided to become very active, and maybe it felt like it not, if it didn't do that, something worse would happen.
I don't get that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand why that would be the case. Other than to just like kind of be like other people. That's the only like win in that scenario.
And if there are other parts, that it's protecting, maybe there's parts that really want to be like others, please others, not scare them off, then you could let this part know that you can work with those parts.
I'm just confused at this point because, like, if the part that I'm, like I said, the part that I'm talking to is here's why you need to acquiesce or pipe down or go along, what it's taking me to makes me disagree.
Because you're seeing that and saying, no, I shouldn't have gone along then.
Well, it's like, a very distinct memory of an unpleasant encounter with someone who was touching me. And I just thought like, oh, I guess this is how it is. Like, I guess this is how this feels.
Yeah. So this part is showing you this emotional time.
Yeah.
And this clear image. And it's showing you when it kind of made that decision, right? It took over and said, yeah, we're gonna acquiesce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you opted in, so just lay there.
Right.
Kind of.
Right. So yeah, that any other part that wants to disagree with it or say like, yeah, but that was a bad idea. Again, I think that's kind of par for the course. That's what parts are doing all the time, is fighting about what a better idea is. But there's something meaningful about this event and this part, driving you to go along for it, that it can show you more of.
Yeah, I think that's just when I started doing that.
Right. And that's usually the answer when we ask how old it thinks we are. It says, well, here's the time when I started doing this. And it had a reason.
I just can't find usually it makes sense. Like how that was a good idea. And right now, to me, it does not.
Okay.
Other than, like to fit in, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a pain associated with the not fitting in and the not going along that it wants to protect you from.
Yeah.
So again, this part might not have, if we kind of assume that pain might be held by another part, then this part might not have all the answers. It just knows something didn't feel good, and so I made this decision.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying to offer it to go to any other parts that drove it.
I feel like somehow, and I know this is, a thing that can be, but I feel like this part is a protector and it is what it is protecting, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's a thing. Okay. I know that I've heard that, I don't know. I don't like to get too labely. But I feel like it's almost as though the protective mechanism comes from the hurt part instead of this like cordoned off. I don't know.
Okay. I'd like to investigate that.
I'm not certain about that. It just feels like the hurt doesn't feel separate from the going along and the acquiescing.
Yeah. Just quickly, can you update this part on your real age? I just didn't want to I want to make sure we didn't skip that. And then I'm also circling the thing you just said to come back to.
Okay. I feel confused in saying it, but it just like, it just feels like the truth for now.
Yes. Good. Well, I'm glad you're saying what you're hearing and what feels like the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. So maybe,
it's like,
go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like what I'm getting or what I'm picking up is like, this utter disappointment, just like sewn in together with the going along and the like, just endure it idea or feeling or whatever strategy, whatever word is appropriate. It's kind of like a choicelessness feeling, which does not make sense rationally, but
you said disappointment.
You opted in, just endure it.
You're right.
Yeah.
You said disappointment. Is the disappointment with a decision or with, is the disappointment with something in the external world? Is it with a decision, or is the disappointment a part that's like disappointed in itself kind of feeling?
The disappointment is in the experience that one opted into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh, yuck,
Right. Okay. So maybe that would be another kind of clue or trailhead is, so there's a part that's opting into things that, that we're later wishing we didn't opt into. And maybe that's kind of a place to go, is learning why this part is saying yes or wanting you to say yes to things. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking now back to the massage where it's like, well, you wanted a massage. I mean, it's not like there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But there could be, there could also be a part that's getting into other situations, maybe when you're 17 or whatever.
Yeah.
That if
choosing
self
badly
is leading might not have. Mm-hmm.
Choosing badly who to interact with.
Right.
For one. And having having not even an expectation, but just just a disappointment in some physical experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, well, you can't, here, the train has left the station,
right.
Here you are.
Yeah.
And it just feels like there's not, I'm aware that there's a possibility to stop the train, but it feels like a non-option.
Because then you would come off as a bitch and people would not want to be around you and they would think that you're unpleasant.
It would hurt people's egos and, no one does in my mind, at least, or in this part's mind. It's like people don't just call a halt to this at this point.
Right.
Whether it be a massage or another kind of encounter.
Right.
That's already happening. Yeah.
Does this part have any requests of you? What does it need from you going forward?
The words overlap your words to choose better. Yeah, it's like, yeah, choose better. Choose more carefully.
I'm curious if that, well, I'm curious how that sounds to you, but specifically in like the recent massage scenario.
Yeah. Whether that's,
would that have worked? And what does it want from you going forward? Like, because let's just assume that sometimes you do get in situations that you then realize are not the right place to be. Right.
And the truth is that there probably were at least some voices inside me that are like, this might be crappy, at various points along the way.
Sure.
I don't know how much detail I want to give, but like as the massage thing is obviously
I get it.
It's just
I get massages too.
On the top.
I get massages too. Sometimes they're really awful, and it is really hard to.
And really,
it's really hard.
And I have my people here, and we were on like vacation, so sometimes you're rolling the dice. It's not that big a deal, and if it was just like not stellar, it'd be different, but it was really bad, like so bad. But there were definitely like, even when I first like came face to face with the person who was providing the service, I was like, I don't think so. And then, like as we're walking to the room, the like conversation that he chose to have with me, I was like, I don't think so. And just like, it just continued and continued. And I mean, but at what point is it actually reasonable to just be like, I actually changed my mind. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But what it's pointing to is, intimate encounters that are not massages that, that's the choose better part. Although I do, you're definitely possibly choosing bad when you go to like a touristy place and, you don't know who your service provider is. Right. And it's not a privately owned practice. I'm educated. So I didn't necessarily choose well.
Right. And there was the question that you just asked of at what point does it make sense to cut off?
I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you've had any shift, clarity, if self is providing any answers around that. If this part wants an answer to that and wants to see change there. I know obviously the other stuff is more impactful. The other stuff is
bigger. Yeah. I think there would have been a reasonable there. Okay. So we booked both massages and facials, and the person who gave the massage was doing the facial too. And I knew by the end of the massage that I didn't want the facial. It would have been reasonable somewhat to say, no, I'm not feeling, I don't know. I'd have to lie a little bit. I don't think I could be like Miss Captain Assertive and be like, I'm not enjoying this, so I would like to leave the room now. Although that was true. But it wouldn't have been unreasonable to be like, hey, I'm not feeling so well. But my best friend was in the room too. Like it was like a dual, session thing. So it was just, I was just trapped. And I think that all the feelings, like the residual pissedness was not about that experience. It was about being reminded of other experiences where it would have seemed equally unusual to say, stop, I don't want to do this anymore. But
right.
To me, it feels much more, although it would have hurt people's egos and made me seem bitchy, like the massage was not the time to say, stop doing this. I don't want to do this. It was a whole bunch of other times.
Right. Right.
Where I was paying something more valuable than money.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is your relationship with this part and learning what it needs from you. There's your relationship with the other very assertive parts that are saying, no, this isn't okay. And by learning more about them, by getting to know them, then rather than their vote always being suppressed, it can be, appropriately filtered through through you, right? You can listen to both of these parts. I'm just kind of selling here the idea of what it could look like if you get to know these protectors. And then I'm also going to just stick with my baseline assumption that there is an exile in there, at least one, that if you were to go to that, heal it, help it out, that neither of these parts would feel quite so strong and that they need to work so hard because I think the massage is a good example where one part is screaming like hell no, and the other part is saying like, no, we have to put up with this. And all of that may have been kind of exile driven, where it's like, well, it's because of being reminded of this former time, of something else, that this is even a big deal. Maybe, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm just saying maybe in self decides, well, I'll just sit here and meditate for an hour. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not making suggestions or anything, but
I was like, all right, I'm doing some breathing techniques.
Yeah. And I hope I'm not making a suggestion or like dismissing that it sucked. I'm just saying that it may have felt a lot less, just emotional. If you are able to identify an exile and help it out.
And it didn't necessarily feel super emotional during the moment. I was just like, I wish I could see the clock. I wish I knew how much longer this was going to go on, or I wish I knew how many products this person is going to slop onto my face. It was just, and again, I'm aware from the outset of this conversation that it wasn't about that experience, but I could feel that it was connected to something bigger.
And going back to the acquiescing part, does it have when I don't know if it was listening to me lay out those kind of different places to go, working with other protectors, working with exiles, does it have any input or requests around where you're putting your energy, your parts work energy?
I don't get anything. I still hear choose better. Obviously not in regards to massage, because I normally choose very well. Just that's all I get from it when I turn to it. Because I think I don't know what I get. The feeling that I get is I don't need to be, I don't need to be, not me, but the part doesn't need to be strongly activated if you choose well. In regards to how else to go and work with the other pieces. That part seems to say that it's not the one standing between me and whatever exile's involved.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have a bias for only from what I've read and some experience of just the idea that if there's a protector, there's an exile, and I don't want to impute that and make that this is how it has to be. I don't know, but I'm gonna always start with that assumption and just encourage you to look out for it. I've taken a lot of notes about what sound to me like exile parts.
Like everyone's going to go away and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I hear that too. It just felt like it was so connected to the going along part to me. And that when I was hearing those and feeling those things, it felt like they felt the same to me. Like that the going along part was protecting itself. I don't know. Or that the part that doesn't want everybody to go away or doesn't want me to be unpleasant or whatever chose the go along with it thing. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not attached to that. I just, when those feelings and messages came through, it felt like they felt stuck together, like all one entity. Maybe it's a very sneaky part. I don't know.
Yeah. I have another hypothesis is that, a lot of these, sometimes there is a lot of overlap where protectors are very young and I don't know if I'll be able to describe it very well here, but it feels
definitely
to me
haven't described anything well myself.
Yeah, like protectors
Sorry,
can be exiles, or protectors can be exiled, or they can have a lot of the same emotions. I
I've
also
heard that
want to avoid the over labeling and trying to fit it all in a box.
Yeah. I'm obviously keen on the fact that there's more work to do with this whole genre of thing.
Ultimately, that's all that matters is whether or not you're keen on the work. If you're keen on it, then that hopefully means it'll keep happening and you'll find these answers. So that's great.
Yeah, it's nice when it can be, everybody's riding in a muscle car at the end, but sometimes, sometimes the Uber hasn't arrived yet. So it's cool.
Was this conversation helpful? I mean, did we?
I mean, we cracked open a thing for sure.
Cracked open a thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it was surprising in the moment. Yeah, there are breadcrumbs for me to follow. So that's good enough.
Me too. I've taken a lot of notes. There were many times in this conversation where I was confused or just kind of not sure what was going on. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have that opportunity, that challenge. And I love that we're recording it because I'm going to listen back and meditate on this and not give all my first opinions and thoughts on everything right now and just kind of think about it. So
okay, cool. I will listen back too, and There's a part that wants to apologize for being confusing, but I don't think you need me to do that.
No, it's great.
Okay.
It's great.
Okay. I confuse myself as well. It's entertaining in here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the nature of the work is that we're going into some strange lands, and if it was all textbook, it probably wouldn't be very useful of a model. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm glad we're both open to that and still keen on it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. It's a good place to stop.
With these folks. Yes.
Okay. Be in touch. I'll let you know if I have any big insights on this, and looking forward to talking with you again.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.